Hello everyone and welcome back to another instalment of the Warwick F1 Show. If you've just come from our Austria review, which you should definitely check out if you haven't already, Chinmay has abandoned us, so it is up to Will Kingswood and I to carry out this episode where we shall be previewing Silverstone, which I think is always a very exciting time. Obviously, because we're British and it's our home race, I suppose. But also, I think Silverstone really is a track that always delivers. I think even times like 2023, where it's been a very boring season, Silverstone has still somehow managed to deliver on some fronts. We've had so many memorable moments there, and I think overall it's just a really good track, lots of high-speed corners, lots of kind of overtaking opportunities and still challenging for the drivers. And we're approaching it really in a time where I suppose a battle couldn't be more heated, which is even more of an exciting thing, really.
Yeah, I mean, Silverstone is always a classic race on the calendar. I think last year's race was probably one of the lesser interesting ones, but when you say that, and like it was still pretty good. And then obviously you think back to 2022, 2021, the races in 2020, and all the kind of other ones that we've seen. It is always a track that kind of throws up a bit of drama. And as you were saying, I think we're heading towards something like that this weekend. Obviously, we have seen last week the collision between Norris and Verstappen, potentially the first time that they have collided on track. And obviously, Norris, as a British driver, is coming into his home Grand Prix, and will have the crowds, I would imagine, completely behind him. So I think it'll be quite an intense atmosphere, and I think if you do ever see Norris and Verstappen go side by side, I think we'll expect some fireworks out of this race.
I think certainly I remember last year where I was lucky enough to attend the Grand Prix, and that was when Lando Norris went ahead of Verstappen for 5 laps. And it was only 5 laps. Everyone knew that Verstappen was going to re-overtake eventually, but the crowd went mental. And so it's just, it was great to see the spirit for all of the drivers there. Obviously, Russell and Hamilton as well are so popular over there. And but it's just, so I can hardly imagine what there's going to be if they can make that battle, which I think is inevitably going to happen. I still think that maybe, obviously, if you wanted to hear our full breakdown of the events that unfolded between those two in Austria, then we have the Austria review, which you can go and watch after this episode. But for this race, I still feel like one of the points we mentioned, it's still more in Verstappen's hands, I'd say, because he's the one that's got the more experience. And although, yes, Norris, I guess you could say, has got the crowd behind him, he's still the bit more experience of being at the front and actually battling for a race win. We saw in Austria, he's still got that mistake in him. So I think if Verstappen can recover from Austria and the events that unfolded, he's still the favourite for this race.
Yeah, I think he's always got to be, for the time being. The McLaren and the Red Bull are clearly very, very closely matched, and then at this point it is very much coming down to the driver, to whether it is Norris or Verstappen. Obviously, Norris is going to want to, I guess, have multiple points to prove. Obviously, he wants to prove that he should have been able to overtake Verstappen at Austria. He should be the driver that should be standing on the top step of the podium. And also, it's his home race. You want to perform in front of your fans. You've seen, and fans who have become very accustomed to kind of British success with Lewis Hamilton over the past kind of eight or so, 9, even 10 years now. Like there is that expectation, I guess, that maybe a British driver should be competing at the front, and I think Norris wants to live up to that. And at the end of the day, winning your home race is one of the things in F1 that matters the most. It's like winning your home race, winning Monaco, and obviously winning the World Championship. I think are the big things that every driver wants to do. And I mean, Norris, this is his best ever his best ever chance. Like, he's never been in this position before where he does have that car that on realistically can compete for that win. And I think he'll be wanting this more than probably any race so far this season. He'll be wanting that win.
We shouldn't forget as well about the two Mercedes. Both Mercedes drivers obviously are British with Russell and Hamilton, and they're coming off of probably a really positive stint, which we didn't expect early on in the season from where they've come. They've definitely made some really great strides in terms of the development that's gone into that car. Russell obviously being winning in Austria. I guess you could argue that he got handed the win, but he was in that position of being solidly the kind of third best car, I'd say, on the grid, which meant that he was able to take that win over Piastri and Sainz. And I think as well with we saw that, and they didn't. I think they came into Austria maybe not expecting too much, just because of the nature of the circuit. Obviously, in Austria, I think there's a lot more low speed corners and a lot more straights coming out of those low speed corners, whereas Britain might be, and the track of Silverstone might be more inclined to the Mercedes car and more inclined to the McLaren car, like it was in Spain, and a little bit in Canada as well, with the high-speed corners. So I think even they'd be able to expect more, really, than what they did in Austria, to be honest, last weekend, of the pace that they'll have in that car, and whether they can maybe not match the McLarens and Red Bulls, but certainly be up there.
I think if you think back to when the last time we had two drivers kind of going all guns blazing into Silverstone, it didn't end particularly
It did not end well, did it? No, it was.
But this isn't going to be a one where either a Verstappen or a Norris can collide with one another and then come back to win. The gaps between Verstappen and Norris aren't anywhere near as big as when Hamilton and Verstappen were battling back in 2021. There will be drivers either in the Mercedes with Russell and Hamilton, in the Ferraris with Leclerc and Sainz, and obviously Piastri and maybe Perez as well. We'll be waiting in the wings if we do see a repeat of Austria. We'll be waiting.
Will Perez be waiting in the wings? Will he realistically be waiting in the wings?
We'll be generous and say he might be waiting in the wings, but they'll be there to pick up the pieces. The gaps are smaller, the margins are tighter, and if anyone makes a mistake, you're suddenly dropping outside of the top three, maybe down to P8, P9, and at this point, it's high stakes. And when you've got a track that's as quick and as kind of dramatic as Silverstone with those overtaking spots, it offers up the potential for some really good racing.
And certainly what's been, I suppose, demonstrated over the past couple of races, especially last weekend in Austria, is that any kind of one thing can really bring either driver back into contention at the front. Obviously, Verstappen with his slow pit stop on around that 50 of Austria meant that Lando Norris could come back into contention. And you look at the nature of the circuit of Silverstone, very high-speed corners, you can maybe safely expect a safety car perhaps from some collision. We've always got Logan Sargent on that case, so it's certainly gonna offer up something special. And not that I want to kind of hope too much, because I guess that's what we hope. I guess I carry hope into maybe Canada and Spain, and that doesn't work out quite as well. But I think we can definitely expect quite a bit. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it from the teams. I know that Ferrari probably will be wanting to get back to more of the street circuit, so we can expect them maybe to be a little bit behind Mercedes and McLaren than compared to where they want to be, and a tight battle at the back as usual. Shall we move on to our predictions? Yeah. So as we said, Chinmay and Will couldn't be here for this episode, unfortunately. So although Chinmay has actually sent in his predictions, and I'm going to predict for Will Biddle's. Yeah. So I can do Chinmay's first, perhaps. Should
I go first? Because I've obviously got Verstappen.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, you have got Verstappen, yeah. So P1. So yeah, as always, of course, we do the kind of the rotation system where you're not allowed to pick the same first place person twice. And it's your turn to pick first, Will. So
yep. So
we can see where this is going. Maybe still.
Well, this is my fourth time being first. The first two, Verstappen didn't win. The third time I didn't predict, so Verstappen did win.
Well, I'm in your same boat now because I predicted for Chinmay last weekend, predicting Verstappen first, and that didn't happen. And are we still at the stage where we are predicting Verstappen realistically? If we have the opportunity,
I think just about, and I think, he is the driver that I'm going to go for P1. Like, and these days, it is very much it's Verstappen versus Norris, and every race. Well, it's been every race like that since, with maybe the exception of Monaco, since Imola and Miami. It's been kind of those two up the top. So, but for the time being, I still think Verstappen has a little bit of an edge. So I'm going for him P1. Obviously, that means likely Norris P2. I've said a second British driver on the podium in Lewis Hamilton for P3, and then fourth and fifth, I've gone for Charles Leclerc and George Russell. Should I run through my 1, 2, and 3s as well?
Yeah, you can do indeed. No Piastri up there. Interestingly, I'm seeing.
You can't. It's difficult. You can't fit that many drivers.
That's true. There are too many good drivers that could be up there, and it is difficult. I'll give you that. Yeah.
Right. So for my 1 point prediction, I've gone for Haas or Alpine score points. For my 2 point prediction, 2 British drivers on the podium, either obviously Norris Hamilton Russell, or Norris and Russell. And then my 3 point prediction, and echoing what happened in Austria last week, I've said that there will be a crash for the lead, or a crash between the lead 2 drivers, or maybe the lead 3 if there's somehow 3 wide on the back straight. But no, a crash for the lead is my 3 point prediction.
I think that's fair enough. As we said in 2021, we certainly got that very early on in the race, and there's plenty of opportunities where 2 or 3 cars going into one corner does not work. So certainly a contention for that. I shall read out Chinmay's now. So this is this is not the ones that I'm actually predicting. This is ones that Chinmay sent in. So he's gone for. So he was third place pick. So he couldn't pick Verstappen, and I picked Norris. So he's gone with Hamilton. Interestingly enough, then Norris second, then Piastri third, so good day for McLaren. Sainz P4, obviously he was third in Austria, so perhaps building or not building, but slightly missing out on where he was for that race, and also Verstappen P5, perhaps a little tactical Verstappen P5. As we've always done, or maybe
the only week we didn't
same actions as he did last week.
Yeah, the only week we didn't do it was
last weekend when he was actually P5.
P5.
Yeah, it was. That's not very good from us, is it? We're really not that great at predicting, are we? But So Chinmay's return to that, maybe tactical, maybe following from last weekend. So he, for then his 1 point prediction, he said at least a double pit stop race. So is that at least one driver does a double pit stop?
I would assume that's like a 2-stop race for everyone, kind of thing.
Yes.
I think Silverstone is normally a race where you see 2 minimum.
We can review that maybe on our review episode, but but we're saying he's thinking generally a 2-stop race for people. I guess it's a lot of high-speed corners, very strenuous on the tyres, so that makes sense. For his 2 point prediction, he went with neither Aston Martin reaches Q3, which, I mean, judging how poor they've been in recent races, I think that's a fair enough prediction. And then for his 3 point prediction, now this was quite confusing to me. So all British-based teams in the points. So that's basically teams excluding Ferrari, Haas, Sauber, and RB. So that's Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren, Alpine, Williams, and
I think that's it.
Aston Martin.
Oh, Aston Martin, yeah. They all score
Which is fair.
points.
So they all score points, not both of them, because that would be impossible. But yeah.
So they all,
but at least one member of each team. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So that seems fine. That's for Chinmay's, and then
it's the Williams in there that made that a 3-pointer.
That's going to be interesting. I guess usually we rely on Albon for that, but then I think he's been struggling a little bit in the past couple of races. But yeah, like we said, that's what makes it the Williams part of that. And maybe the Aston Martin and Alpine as well make that a little bit more sceptical. And then we'll go for what the predictions that I'm going to be making for Will Biddles. So obviously I had second pick. I couldn't pick Verstappen, so I thought I'd pick Norris. I think realistically, unless some sort of incident occurs, it's going to be one of those two. I can't see really any other driver being up there. A bit like Hamilton and Verstappen in 2021. They just those two drivers just seemed in a league of their own at the moment. And then I went with Verstappen P2. I didn't go with the Verstappen tactical Verstappen P5. I do generally think that Verstappen will be up there and Norris might just beat him in an out-and-out battle without him retiring or anything like that. And then after his strong showing in Austria, I went with Piastri P3. I do think he'll be up there again, no matter what. But I do think he might finish on the last step of the podium. Hamilton P4. I think he's going to do well after the Mercedes strong showing in Austria. And then Leclerc P5. Basically, I thought it's Will Biddle, so I thought I had to include Leclerc in there somewhere with his liking of Leclerc. And I think if there is a Ferrari up there, then it could definitely well be Leclerc. For my 1-point prediction, so I was going to go with one British driver on the podium, but I thought of another potential one because we were talking about this in between the episodes. How about as my 1-point prediction, Norris gets driver of the day?
Yeah, no, that's a good 1-point prediction.
Because he's been, if there was a championship, like as we were saying, if there was a championship for driver of the day, he would be like destroying the competition in that. We mentioned that he shouldn't have maybe got it last race over Hulkenberg, but obviously he's a very popular driver. So
the only way he wouldn't get it, I think, is if he DNFs on lap 1 and then a British driver wins the race somehow.
Yes, I think it would be. I think it's safe to say that a British driver will get driver of the day. But either Hamilton or Russell. But I think it would take like a Hamilton or Russell win to knock Norris off. So we'll say Norris gets driver of the day for my 1-point prediction. My 2-point prediction is that as Hamilton usually does in his races, especially if he wins, that he is going to do a lap after the race is finished holding a British flag, which we've seen him do on many occasions. I thought I'd go with that as my 2-point prediction. And then for my 3-point prediction, I'd say that a driver crashes and retires, so they're definitely going to have to actually DNF at Stowe or Vale. So that's the last kind of section of the lap after just coming off of the Hangar Straight before going on to the start-finish straight. That kind of section of corner, someone's going to crash and DNF there. Hopefully we can get Sargent or Stroll to get me that 3 points there. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think we've kind of safely formulated. It's quite nice, I suppose, I guess, because you mentioned it's quite hard with the amount of drivers that we can pick now to form that top 5. And it's nice that there are so many drivers up there, the Mercedes, the Ferraris, the McLarens, Verstappen. It's really nice to be able to really not know what's going to happen. And I suppose even if one driver dominates like Verstappen, then we're certainly going to have a good battle around that kind of that region from the midfield to Verstappen of the second and third place teams.
You just drop Russell and Verstappen. No, not Russell. Norris and Verstappen. Let's say the collide on the first lap. Both DNF. Suddenly, you've got about a 6-way fight for the win.
You've got a brilliant race. But then this is what we were saying back in like 2023, 2022. Is that you just need Verstappen to crash out of the race, and suddenly you've got a brilliant race on your hands. And it's a similar kind of thing here, but without Norris and Verstappen. But certainly at least there's two drivers up there. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And and yeah, I think even if that doesn't happen, Norris and Verstappen are once again going to give us a really great race. Something that could be affected by either the driving or any mistakes that their team or their strategists make. It's certainly going to be very close. Both drivers wanting to give us statements to the other. But do you think we've missed anything? I think we've done pretty well. Certainly, we're going to be very excited for what usually is up there as one of the best races of the season.
I mean, this I've got to decide which commentary team I'd watch it with. Do you watch it with Sky or do you watch it with Channel 4? Because obviously
that's true. Channel 4 are showing it. I don't know if hopefully Martin Brundle's back on Sky Sports. Obviously he was there for Austria, but then I think he wasn't there before. And David Crofty wasn't there.
It should be Brundle and Crofty for
you can't
for Silverstone. I don't imagine
you can't break up those two. They're a power couple realistically, aren't they?
Or do you go Alex Jakes and David Coulthard?
Oh, is it David? Nah, you can't get rid of Crofty and Brundle. It's you can't abandon them. It's going to be
the first half lap of 2021. That commentary was elite.
Or what was the one where was Through Goes Hamilton as well? What year was that? That was 22.
That was 22.
22. Yeah, that was amazing bit of commentary.
The first lap of 2021 Silverstone, first half a lap, I think, was F1 peaking, and then it all ended.
It was ridiculous. I think I was off the sofa. I was like screaming at my TV screen, and then it was that whole season. I think really that was commentary just gone mad. And I think watch that
again. I might just go watch it now.
I've done that on multiple occasions. Certainly, the last few races at the end of the season, not Abu Dhabi. I haven't been strong enough to watch that yet. But certainly, Saudi Arabia. You think that like David Crofty is going to have like a migraine or something after commentating it? He's shouting so loudly, and it's just he's going mental. But that's what we love him as a commentator. He brings up the drama of it all. But
no, it'll be a good race.
It'll be a good race. We understand there's probably there's definitely going to be quite a few members, I think, of our F1 Society, possibly some people listening who are going to be attending, and we hope that it is a brilliant race for you guys. I'm sure it will deliver. And but yeah, apart from that, thank you very much, Will, for joining me for discussing what is hopefully going to be a good race at Silverstone. And until next time, goodbye.